Oh, yeah. Admit. Is everybody here? Hey, Fazul, how are you?
I'm doing good.
Good, man. Where are you calling in from?
India.
Good. You got bad weather over there as well?
What?
Is your weather bad?
Oh, I'm not getting you.
Yeah. The weather here is terrible.
It is rainy weather.
Yeah, it's a storm. A storm's coming through the UK at the minute. It's really terrible. But no worries, mate. No worries. Rennie, how are you? Oh, she's gone. Nikki's gone. People from South Africa always have problems connecting. So, you know. All right, no worries. Oh, bit. Good stuff. You're looking well. All right. Rennie, how are you?
I'm very well, thanks, and you?
I'm good. It's good to see the power on in South Africa.
Great.
I'm always amazed.
Barely. We have very bad weather, so it's on and
Very
off.
bad weather.
If I leave, it's not me leaving, it's the internet leaving. Yeah, it's affecting the internet quality, so especially
Okay.
video.
That's all right. Hi, Nikki. How are you? Hi, Mark. Good to see you. I hope everybody can hear me. Can everybody hear me okay? Good stuff. All right, I think I'll make a start. Not to waste somebody's time. It's 10:03 now, so I like to start on time. So we'll share our screen. Hold on. I'll stop sharing. Mute everyone. Share screen. Okay, can everybody see that? Good stuff. Any
Yes.
conversation in the chat? I will look at it. Any ask me anything during the presentation, and more than happy to take questions as we go. That's okay. So today's webinar, it's not like is how to create a profitable story posts that don't suck. Now, it's a lot of stories out there at the minute, and I find them very inauthentic and not coming across as they meant to. And a story is a powerful way to connect with your audience. Your story is your story. It's your unique story. In a social media landscape whereby everybody's saying the same thing. The only thing is different is your story. So in this presentation, I'll give you some ideas about how to craft a story post that actually gets people to take action, and you can actually, make some sales from. So who am I? So just for those people who are not aware of who I am, I've been online since October 2018. That seems a long time ago now. Been on down many rabbit holes, websites, marketing agencies, funnels, all that good stuff. And then 21 changed to organic marketing because I've seen so many people struggling at the start of their coaching business of actually making some traction, and organic marketing is where you should be starting, not in paid advertising. I actually started in paid advertising and went to organic. You should really go from organic to paid advertising. And then built my own one-on-one coaching program. I now have a group coaching program, and I know people on this call are familiar with Jason Grossman, so I'm working with him as well at the minute. So very varied up and down, as everybody's coaching journey is. It's never linear. Everybody thinks it's linear, is talking rubbish. It's 2 steps back, 1 step forward. So what you'll learn today is why stories are so powerful, why you should be using stories as part of your content strategy, how to use stories to market unique mechanism. Now I'll talk about what a unique mechanism is. You should have something about your services that is unique, and how you can describe that, and how you weave stories around that. And an example of a signature story post example. So I'll go through kind of like a story post and give you some example about how to structure that. That sound good? Everybody excited? Good.
Yep.
All right, the power of stories. Now, I'm probably talking to the converted here. Our brains are literally hardwired for stories. Now, I don't have to tell you, we remember stories better than we remember anything. Someone tells you a story in the street, you're much better to remember that than, just plain information, factual information. So stories can do the heavy lifting to sell your services. It's how you weave stories in to something your client is dealing with, that you can show them, a changed belief or a new reality that you can tag on your services onto that. So it's very important, kind of weaving your stories so you can position yourselves as an expert. Also, stories engage the reader at an emotional level. So it allows information to flow fully and hold attention. As I say, when you're reading a story, you're fully engaged with that. You're emotionally engaged with the story. So that's holding our attention. And in the online space, attention is the greatest asset. People are paying millions and millions of dollars just to get our attention. So stories are a great way to get that emotional connection. And this is why logic alone in your content will always fall short. So if you're doing an awful lot of how-to content or educational content, it's probably not going to move people. I keep on saying kind of the internet's coming down with information, but kind of precious little transformational content. You should be positioning yourself as a transformational coach, because that's basically what you're in. You're taking people from a less desirable place to a more desirable place, and your services is a bridge. So you're the change agent, and that is the best way to describe that is through stories. So logic alone will always fall short, in my opinion. Yeah, so you're right. Facts tell, stories sell. Absolutely. So just to give you an example of a story. So the story 1 is on the left hand. It was estimated 11 million children in the USA suffer from food insecurity, means households do not have enough food on a regular basis for every family member to lead a healthy life. This can lead to serious health problems, poor performance in school, and emotional issues. Okay, that's sort of a factual story. Whereas on the story on the left, or sorry, on the right, we have when Rebecca goes to school in the morning, her stomach is rumbling and she finds it hard to concentrate in class. Because she's shy, she's reluctant to tell anyone that her problems are due to the fact her family does not have enough to eat. She's ashamed, even embarrassed. Even though she gets a big hug from her mother every day and says, "I'm sorry, honey, this will get better, I promise." Imagine for a minute you didn't have enough food to eat each day, not to mention all the problems with nutrition and emotional deficiencies. No child should have to go through this. So tell me which one you would be attracted to, which more you have emotional investment in. Two, obviously. So just that simple example of telling a story around Rebecca, as opposed to kind of a factual, hey, 11 million people in the USA suffer from food insecurity. So this is the power of weaving a personal story through, a difficult situation. Now, I'm not saying anything that's new. You've probably seen it on advertisements or kind of in the media. They're weaving stories in to kind of get an emotional connection. But I think in your own context of being a coach, you need, think about your services or a client story. You could weave something of a story through. Make sense? Good. So another one is power of projection. Again, we insert ourselves into the story. Kind of see maybe you were inserting yourselves into Rebecca's story. You kind of identified with her suffering, or kind of she was hungry every day. So we're actually inserting ourselves into that story. Your prospect feels empathy towards you and creates trust. This is huge. Kind of, once people feel empathy, kind of they feel for you, they feel for your situation, that creates trust. And trust is the currency that is going to make people to take action in terms of, take that next step with you. Trust is necessary for people to buy from you. This is, if people don't trust you, they're not going to buy you. They might not like you, but they might trust you. So, but it's necessary for people to take that next step and buy from you. So it becomes relevant to them as people are always interested in themselves now. It's people don't care about you, they care about themselves. So if you can project someone that they can identify with, that creates relevance for them. So they'll be interested in what you have to say. Makes sense? Yeah, Anya, makes sense. Good. And the last one, changes attitudes, beliefs, values, knowledge, and behavior. So all of these stories is you can change. It's using a story, you can change maybe a misplaced belief to kind of a new belief through a story. Something that that something was holding your client back, and you weaved a story to change those beliefs to a new belief, and the benefit that came from that new belief, that they're now living a much more fulfilled life. So that's a change. And you can put a call to action at the end of that and say, well, if you want something like this, hashtag change below, or so, if that was a post, or reach out to me, and I have this free checklist or free webinar that I'm doing on this change of belief that I went through or my client went through. So you're changing, you're going on that journey, just like maybe your own journey. That's why, documenting your journey is so important. The things that you went through, don't just discount those. Those are stories that have value when people can identify that. Make sense? Next. Questions to ask. So these are some kind of random questions to ask in sort of stories. How did your product or service come to be? Sort of the story about kind of where it did, your story. The service that you are now promoting, there's a backstory to that. What is that backstory? What was it going on in your life at the time? You describe that in terms of the epiphany moment that you had that everything changed. What sort of problem were you trying to solve? It was something that, you were trying different things that weren't working. So, what was that thing that was really keeping you back? Is there a story behind that? Were you frustrated by other solutions that fell short? You've been maybe, stuck with, childhood trauma that was keeping you back from moving forward. You tried different solutions, maybe surface level, that never really got to the core of the problem until you said done some deep work in underlying those underlying issues. What were the circumstances around that? Your environment plays an awful lot in terms of kind of the circumstances. Describe what that is, a story around the circuit. You don't change your environment, you're unlikely to kind of build a new reality for yourself. So, what were the circumstances? What hurdles had to overcome in bringing this about? Maybe you had family that was holding you back, that kind of maybe they didn't understand you, you didn't know, you were surrounded by the wrong people. So describe that in terms of what story would that be? Did you have doubters? If you're on this journey, the hero's journey of, moving kind of where place that was not serving you to a place that is serving you, you obviously had doubts. You had doubts, maybe your family had doubts. That story you can weave in. And how did you finally, how did you overcome that breakthrough moment at the end in terms of, hey, actually I had all of these doubts, had all of these challenges, and then the final, I'd overcome that. Mostly people at the end are focused on that overcome. You've seen sort of like, I was broke on my brother's couch, and now I'm, a millionaire. I'm not a big fan of that. I think I mentioned a post I had. I'm not a big fan of that sort of thing. It doesn't sort of stack up. But once you maybe weave the picture beforehand, that backstory and the hero's journey, a much more rounded view of your journey and through your stories, that's a much more powerful way. People can self-identify with that journey. I'll talk about this later on, about a story model that you can take away, that it's a much more holistic view on stories in terms of your story, especially. Any questions on that? No? If anybody want, I mentioned that I've got a cheat sheet on questions to ask to kind of prompt you to think about kind of stories you might have. If anybody wants that, just DM me and I'll send you a list of questions to ask. If anybody wants that, just DM me in the chat. I will send it out. Okay, Nikki? Yep, I'll give you. No worries. Okay, Matthias, good. All right. So this is unique mechanism. Touched on it before. Now, unique mechanism. I'm a big fan of USP, unique selling proposition, or something that is unique about your services. I know in a social media landscape where everybody is saying the same thing, or a very unique mechanism, sets you apart. Something that you can describe your services in a novel way. It's an iterative thing. It's not something that comes immediately, but over time, you would have something that you can describe that, what you do more than anything, what sets you apart from someone else. So this can make literally a difference between making zero or a lot of money. because it creates curiosity in the mind of your prospect to want to know more, and you can weave stories around that. You truly have a unique mechanism. It's a special recipe. So as I say, everybody's unique. Their story is unique. By definition, you have a special recipe. It's all about kind of how do you describe that in terms of a mechanism that, that people will identify with and want to raise their hand on. So I'm very much into sort of having some uniqueness and describing something unique around your services and around your story. You have a service, but there's a part of it nobody's talking about. Unique brewing practice. Yeah, that's just kind of like, I don't know what I was thinking, but something that's unique, maybe there's something and some of the pillars that you're doing of your program, the steps you're taking your prospect, your client through. Maybe there's something in that, maybe that foundation pillar, that diagnosis phase, or something maybe in the main body of what you're doing, or you can describe something that's unique to your service, that you can put a unique mechanism around that sort of sets you apart. So I'll give that example, a unique brew. People, everybody has different beers in terms of why we have all these different beers, because they're all unique. They have sort of a unique brewing practice. They're kind of setting themselves up as we are unique. So that uniqueness keeps difference, keeps curiosity, and it's more easier to kind of weave a story around that. And brewing, they weave a brand around that. They weave a story around the practice of actually brewing that beer. So it's the same sort of thing with you in terms of your coaching services. You're going to weave a story around the uniqueness that you bring to your services. And you have a mechanism to transformative. Again, I come back to this keto diet. I've just put this sort of beasting, feasting, and fasting. It's sort of like you want something that is people can, self-identify with. Sort of they identify with, that captures the imagination. So this is sort of for keto diet. Turn something ordinary into the extraordinary. So think about something that your services are, that you can turn into an extraordinary, and then weave a story around that. You're keeping that uniqueness with your unique story, so you can see the power of telling that story around some kind of unique mechanism. Make sense? Has anybody done that? Has anybody have sort of a unique mechanism of their services that they can sort of, that they feel is unique to them? In the chat? Not yet. No, okay. I would certainly maybe brainstorm what you're doing. Look at what others are doing. It doesn't have to be radical. It's just maybe something that's slightly different from what you're doing, that you can sort of put your own flavor to and call it your own. Because most people are doing the same thing. It's not as if because you don't have something that's different. They're just more people are more advanced in the marketing space, that they're putting fancy terms around something and telling it better than you are. They're not better than you. They're just telling it better. Yeah, astrology, get me back coaching. Okay, my delivery can be done using role play and maths, like using comedy. Yeah, Juliet, good. So next, yeah, thing is, it should have a unique mechanism. It's this is sort of the fundamentals of my services. And the first one when we focus on offer creation, is we giving that offer some kind of unique mechanism, and then from that unique mechanism that drives you know, it's a story around that mechanism. So if you're having kind of a story post that's always talking about this unique mechanism and you're weaving a story around that, how powerful is that would be? People would be interested and say, what is this? And then maybe you're running events around that mechanism, how you're demonstrating why this is different. Why is this different from everyone else? Next. So there are two parts to the unique mechanism. Unique mechanism behind the problem your prospect faces. Explain why your prospect has not achieved their desired goal. So kind of they're dealing with something that you know that's keeping them back. It's not achieved them. And then behind the solution you're offering, that's more explain how your prospect will see using your solution. So it's kind of before and after the problem that they're facing and the solution you offer. So it's no problem just focusing on the problem. You know, people don't want to, you know they have a problem. You want to be demonstrating you have a solution as well. So it's kind of, you want your unique mechanism to have both those aspects. You know, if your mechanism behind your solution is missing, your prospect is close to succeeding. Show that this is sort of like some of them, you know, maybe there's some aspect of we were talking about and you have that missing piece that they're looking for, and say, there's something that there's something in your services that you can fill the gap. That's a great position to put you into sell. You know, so if you're going to maybe look at your market and say, well, actually, everybody's focused on this, but actually, I think there's a gap here. There's a missing gap that I think I can fill, and I can put maybe a mechanism around that, and that's a missing piece. And you position yourself with some of that, and then tell a story around why this missing piece is important. That is a great positioning for you. Does that make sense? So again, this is all to create curiosity in the mind of your prospect. You know, I come back to kind of say the social media landscape is so noisy. There's so much. Everybody is saying the same thing. I'm frankly a bit tired of the same things kind of popping up on my inbox. If you position yourself and have that sort of unique mechanism, and you can still stories around it, and you can sort of demonstrate maybe there's an aspect of your services that you can highlight that, you know, you feel is that people want, or kind of that puts you in a great position to sell and position yourself as an expert. Okay. This is sort of diagrammatic of kind of the heaven and hell island I like to go through. This is basically your services. If you're in the transformation game, not the information game, you know, you should be always talking about the transformation and kind of talking about that problem solution. So problem, they're on heaven island. They have this thing that's keeping them up at night. They want solved, or hell island, and the heaven island is that ideal life that they want, that ideal, you know, walking into the sunset kind of life. And you are that bridge. You're the quickest path to getting to that island. And there's sharks and stuff whenever that, and you say, well, I have the best solution. And if that straight line is like that missing piece that I talked about, my God, people will be kind of jumping on board to want to know. And you can tell a powerful story around that missing piece, then you have a winning business. Does that make sense? So paint a vivid picture of what life looks like right now before they use your service, and paint a vivid picture of what it looks like after your services. You know, classic is the, you know, the health space, you know, before and after. before I was this, now I'm after this. But I think you can do it maybe in the softer coaching space as well. You talk about the changing of belief. It's all about, a lot of people in the coaching space is about challenging people's beliefs that they can't change, and they're stuck on the belief that they can change. So paint a vivid picture of what life is like now and how they can get what their life has looked like, that draw to that heaven island. Okay. So signature stories. So I'm talking about kind of the story around your story. You want to have a pinnacle. I'll talk about it later. A pinnacle story, some kind of that summarizes your journey. A story about the pain felt by your prospect. What it feels to be in that lowest point. A story about the solution of your services. So what it's like now in terms of the benefit and the outcome they've got from your services. Story about one of your successful customers. We interview one of your customers and get that, have a story around that. Sort of why conventional solutions in your market aren't good enough and don't work. Again, after that missing link, maybe there's why people are going down a certain route, maybe at surface level, when actually it's a much deeper problem, and you can actually do the deep work with them to get them that solution. And sort of about one of the myths in your marketplace. Maybe there's something in your marketplace that everybody is just attracted to, but it doesn't work. So maybe there's some kind of myth in the marketplace that you can share a light on. And then a story about how it feels to overcome the problem. People, come back to the emotional response. People, how they want to know that you get them, they understand them. So how it feels, that sort of granular level of emotion is, if you look at all the content or the posts that get most engagement, they're the ones that really dig in to sort of that feeling, the problem that they were dealing with. And a before and after story, very important in terms of demonstrating the results you've got for your clients. Kind of before I was here, after that I'm not here. And then a parallel about an essential points of what you're trying to solve. So maybe you can tell maybe small stories or some kind of small vignettes about some points that you're trying to solve until that bigger outcome that they want. So just give you some ideas about some stories that might help demonstrate kind of the value you're bringing to your prospect, your clients. That makes sense? Anybody? Good, thanks. So as just to take a litmus test, has anybody done a pinnacle story, some kind of like their signature story, origin story, or that? Has anybody crafted that in terms of and put it out there yet? Making themselves vulnerable? No, that one just good, Nikki. Good. Yeah, I would certainly do your story. Now, I'm not one for being vulnerable for one vulnerable sake. It's kind of like being vulnerable and being kind of, but showing hope to people, showing that, I was here, but actually it's not as bad as you think. It actually, in some ways, the darkest periods of our life are actually the most memorable and most, parts of our life that give us drive to move away, to kind of be the change agent, to kind of change our lives. And it's some way it's a gift. So at the time, it doesn't seem at the time, but in retrospect, it does. But that's a great story to tell your audience. So if you can put a story around that and talk about that, either, in written context or, do a podcast on it. That is huge. I don't have a Rajvich, but I don't know how to craft my story. Okay, we'll talk about that. Bio, a bit of my story Sunday about decision making. Yeah, good. So this is sort of a signature story, kind of that sort of, it's not your fault. It's kind of, that was the start. Kind of the headline is so important. It's not your fault. Kind of that. So 10 years ago, I wasn't living up to potential. I'd spent a decade at college and a small fortune getting 2 degrees. So I took pride in getting good grades, but in the real world felt another failure. So that's sort of, as far as a personal film went, the universe was giving me a big fat F. So kind of, I wasn't, in the outside world, everything was looking good, but internally I was far from that. Although I know I wasn't a slacker, I still felt guilty for not living up to my expectations that I placed upon myself. Lost soul searching, here's what I found. Acquiring knowledge helps you pass exams, did not mean squat in succeeding in life. So there is sort of revelation from your story that, in the outside world, I was seeing a failure, but internally I was, I felt a failure. And all of this stuff that people tell you about passing exams and you be, as a element of success, that actually, it doesn't mean anything. Didn't mean anything for me. So actually being that vulnerable and saying that is that, setting the thing of your story. We go on and then, challenge conventional thinking. And then this person nobody was teaching me how to become an entrepreneur. The dirty little secret is that most colleges and universities are producing graduates to fill jobs that may already be redundant. So you're challenging that we're churning out graduates for jobs that just, may not be there anymore, which is very true, with the advent of AI and the speed of technology. Students spending thousands on degrees and in debt for years for jobs that will soon be done by AI. Trading your time for money or working hard is not the answer in today's labor market. You are truly expendable. So challenging those conventional thinking. So it's, setting your story and then moving it to show that, there was something wrong with society in terms of what I felt. There was just something wrong with society. People churning out, and they weren't actually teaching how to become an entrepreneur, how to actually start a business. And then finally, good news is you only have to acquire high income skill. So it's not your fault. We'll come back to that. It's not your fault. The education system is broken. The ivory towers are collapsing. The only education that matters is in the real world. So if you want to leave the matrix or don't want to join it in the first place, get hold of my Sell What You Know blueprint and how to turn your existing skills into a high income online business. Drop hashtag Sell What You Know below and I'll send it to you. So he's challenging existing thinking, broken system, and it's not your fault. If you're feeling like this, I get you. The education system is broken. If you want to know how to move your life to actually become, run your own business, I have a blueprint. Drop what you sell. So he's weaving that story for an action item, for his audience to take. Do people get that? People see that? So it's much more than sort of talking about, the education system is broken, enlisting facts of why it is broken. That's not going to make anybody move. He's weaving his story in about how he felt. Okay. All right. This is a story model. I know people have probably heard, some people on the call have probably know this story, but it's a very powerful story, holistic story model. It's not mine. It's a guy called Manny Wolf came up with it. And I've just sort of I love this type of way he talks about kind of a very holistic story. So he has it in a question mark approach. So at the tip of the question mark is PS, is a pinnacle story. It's basically the origin story we talked about. That everything was falling apart. That was my darkest day. It was sort of I was like Manny, the guy who learned this from. He had like a story about he was like had a gun in his hand and it was like pointed at someone. It was like a really everything was just broken at that point. So that's that pinnacle story that that sort of I can't go on like this anymore. And then he talks about through a backstory, kind of a backstory of what came up to this point. It's setting the scene, small vignettes or some kind of short stories about, well, how did this happen? Kind of why did I suddenly become at this such a low ebb in my life, and sort of set the scene of, he was drug taking, he was kind of, he was in trouble with the law, kind of that sort of, in terms of maybe it was broken home, all of those type of things that kind of got to this point of where everything kind of got to such a critical point. So that's that pinnacle story. But then we move on, we go back to that pinnacle story again, but we are on hope this time. Pinnacle story of, yeah, it was bad, but at that point I knew if I go on any further, I'm going to end up in jail or dead. So, but I made a conscious choice to change myself. I knew, that the only person could change it was me, not external. So he changes his life. That pinnacle story is the pinnacle story with hope, kind of hope of a new beginning of something that is a new reality. And then we move on to hero's journey, kind of the journey of discovery, self-discovery of and becoming that person you are today. The ups and downs of going and learning the skills, learning, life, going into a coaching program or learning something that's going to develop you as a person, both, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, kind of that person you are today. So you're going on different. So these are different, hero's journey stories. And that's not that as anybody's been on a journey, it's never linear. You've got ups and downs, you've got setbacks, you've got things that, somebody's pulled you back to maybe that previous version of you, but you're always you're moving in a direction that, to that ultimate point of the question mark here is that breakthrough moment, that breakthrough, that kind of all of the crap you're dealing with, all of the doubts you had, all of the failures you've had, all the setbacks, all of the trauma that you've had, the kind of the breakthrough moment that, yeah, I'm on a journey, but I'm at the minute where I know I can help people. I know I can be of service to others because of my the story that I've went through. So, and then you can go on to lessons learned, and then you go on to sort of the lessons learned from that, the lessons you've learned from going through all of this, and how you could pass that on to people who are going through a similar journey as well. So you can see, if you were to do maybe 10, 15 posts or podcasts or on your different journey, do you think people would be attracted to you if you showed that? You think you would get immense attraction? And if you actually put services, if you put a call to action, say at the end of that, or even in the hero's journey during here, about different aspects of the breakthroughs you had at that point, would you get more hands raised, do you think, than just say, hey, I've got X, Y, and Z program, it does this, this, and this, and kind of that?
Can I ask a question, Michael?
Go ahead.
So when you're saying that story and whether it would get traction, like people going, yeah, give me some of that. Are you saying that you would break up that story?
Yeah, you would just have different stories.
Tell it in one go.
No, you'd be breaking that up in different stories. You'd have the pinnacle story, kind of like your lowest point, or kind of the change that, and then the backstory to demonstrate kind of where that came from, and then the pinnacle story of the new beginnings, and then the hero's journey of you on that new journey.
How would that work? How does that look?
You could do like a
in
series of
terms
podcasts, a series of posts. You could do a series,
Okay.
and you could put it around themes of your services. You know, the pillars of your program, and kind of it might demonstrate kind of, especially on the hero's journey side of things, the different things that it can demonstrate. Hey, I was going through, you know, the mindset shift that had to happen. You know, I had to go from a victim mindset to a victor mindset.
Mm.
And the change that had to happen. If you want to know how I
But
did
so
that,
like
and then
initially you would say, this is my story, this is, you know, this is what I've had to go through to come to where I am, and then you'd go back to the beginning.
yeah, I'd set the scene, that first section there, that pinnacle story and the backstory.
Yeah.
That's sort of setting the scene of, you know, who is this person? Why are they talking about, you know, how did they
Yeah.
become to this
Because they
point?
kind of got to know that you got through it.
That's right. It's not just a plain, hey, I was broke and now I'm not, or kind of the very binary stories that
Yeah,
you see a lot on. So it's kind of setting the scene, and then setting the scene of that new story, that hero's journey story. And through that journey, you can put sort of call to actions about different aspects, themes around your services, that kind of that,
Mm.
you know, it's a much more, you know, holistic story model.
So within all those little points, they've got to see themselves somewhere.
Yeah, some, you know, if you are, you know, I talk about projection, and people are projecting themselves into your story, they can say, God, they're talking about me. That's exactly what I was going through.
Yeah.
And when people feel understood, they feel kind of that's sort of an aha moment. See, I feel understood. If you're talking to me and you really get me, kind of, I feel understood maybe the first time. How more driven would be sort of the attraction to kind of, if I said, hey, I really understand you, and I've got this thing over here, I think it could really help you. You know, how many more hands raised would you get?
Mm.
So that's why I like that more holistic story model, rather than just the binary.
Yeah.
Hey, you know, I was broke, but I'm not, which is just, you know, I don't even read them anymore. It doesn't do
Yeah.
them.
Thank you.
No worries. So I think that's it. Okay, summary. Okay. So use stories in your content. You know, that's whatever the type of stories, your own story. I talked about kind of the pinnacle story, the backstory, kind of the in your hero's journey story, different stories about your unique, you know, but you know, where you were, where you are now. Just brainstorm different stories. Have a unique mechanism to create a point of difference. I sort of go back to that. A unique mechanism you can hang a story on that demonstrates the value, and for your client. Just creates massive differentiating point from anyone else. Be clear on the transformation you're getting for your client. That point A and point B. You know, I think most people, when they're putting themselves out there or talking about coaching services, they're not clear on the A and B. You know, where is your client now and where they want to be? And, you know, you're talking about the problems and you're talking about the solutions. Introduce unique mechanism within your origin story post. That's, you know, that the thing that changed for you, you kind of had, you know, maybe there was something within, you know, the shift that had to happen, and there was a mechanism, and you can put like a process around that, a mechanism that kind of made all the difference for you, for that kind of that breakthrough they have, and you can put some kind of mechanism around that, or that's a powerful hook for people to sort of want to know more about. And then use, I could say that story model, use stories, the signature story, the backstory, hero's journey story. So where you are, what leading up to kind of where your story is, and then the hero's journey story of kind of where you are today and the breakthrough and the lessons learned that you can share with your audience. So if you did that story model with a unique mechanism, sort of demonstrating through that, this mechanism, using it made all the difference for you, and you're talking about it all the time in your stories, you're going to have a lot of people saying, "What, God, I want to know about this here. I want to know kind of what's the breakthrough that happened with, using this. I want to know more about it." And you're maybe doing an event on it. Hey, I want to know more about how this actually can work for me. Does that make sense? Any questions on that? Nikki, Barbara, Matthias?
Yes, well, to create the unique mechanism.
Yes.
Like I want to be like a self-esteem and confidence coach.
Yes.
Like I know with my story, like what I've been through and everything, but it's so different for every client. Like now someone asked me if they want to lose weight. That is their thing. And it is like a self-esteem issue.
Yes.
So to find a unique mechanism that can like combine any type of problems that people have, because it's quite a broad thing if you think about it, because all problems are related to self-esteem and contentment, yes, and that kind of issues. So yeah, I was just
kind of what is the outcome? What's the point be? What's the heaven island look like for that person? And you can put a unique mechanism that gets them to that. If it's self-esteem, or is it kind of a weight loss?
No, like to be confident in who they are and be happy with who they are, accept themselves and not compare themselves to others.
Right. Okay, well then, is there something in your story that kind of made the difference for you in terms of?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I felt like worthless my whole life. So I mean, I got divorced twice before I was 30 because I just thought I'd never get someone better, and it just my low self-esteem caused me to make all these bad decisions. And so in 2013 I had a complete transformation after my second husband and I split up. So I had to get him arrested and have a protection order against him. But then I started going to church and the gym and started drinking water and everything. And I just made a decision that I'm not going to let my past mistakes ruin me and my children's future. And so I made this whole transformation. And like you said, it's not just easy sailing. Even from the last 10 years, I had a lot of different things, eating disorders and all kind of stuff that I also went through. And everything was always rooted in tying my self-worth to something externally or something else, and not just being happy with myself. So.
Okay. Well, what you just told is a great story. So it's got to then dissect that. There's probably backstory there. There's hero's journey story there. There is there's a pinnacle story of the before and after and threaded within that, maybe there's some unique something that made all the difference for you that you can describe, that the change that happened to put you on a new trajectory, I couldn't play the victim mindset anymore, and it was
definitely the mindset, I think, is
so
crucial.
A victim to victor kind of mindset program, some kind of, I'm putting my marketing hat on here. It's more putting some kind that people can self-identify with. So a unique mechanism that you can describe.
Hi, Michael. Can I ask you
Yeah.
a question?
Kier, go ahead.
Okay, I'm listening. Going and describing the hell part is easy
Yes.
because the pain that you've gone through, human beings, our ego can identify with that and can make it big. You know what I'm saying? But I find that me on my hero's journey, I also had I was a childhood trauma. I had a fantastic childhood in terms of I don't have alcoholism, I don't have abuse, this, etc. I had working class parents, working class, a fairly good family life, etc., etc. But
Mhm.
because of the neglect and cultural impact,
Mhm.
I became a chronic people pleaser. And
Yeah.
by becoming a chronic people pleaser, I didn't know who I was. I had an identity crisis. Okay.
Mhm.
I understand that. That was my hell because I was always codependent on other people. Also, never felt good enough. Didn't know what was right for me, etc., etc. Now, one day I decided I refused to live in fear. But the mechanism that I used, because I'm in the coaching industry, and I find that a lot of the mechanism that I use it's already been done. It's already been there, done that kind of thing. You know, that's the kind of feeling I get. So
Right.
telling my health part is easy, but creating the unique mechanism, for me, it is a multi-layered mechanism. It's not a, like you say, binary linear mechanism.
Mhm.
So you were in hell and then you change and transform. But the transformation didn't happen in one, like I said, linear. It happens up and down, you know what I'm saying, on layers. Now, how would you create a mechanism to help your client? I finally found my niche. I mean, I've been in coaching since 2016. I've been in employee wellness for the corporate since 2011. And the online space just boggles my mind, especially the unique mechanism. Yeah.
Well, the only reason we're doing a unique mechanism is just differentiation. You know, if you're, you know, there's so many coaches out there, so many people, you know, and it's just to put some kind of framing around what you do. It's and something that you bring in your unique insight into. That you know that what did I say? You know, sort of.
Okay, an example of what I'm understanding. Sorry to interrupt you. Like I was in the corporate space. I was very unhappy because of
Mhm.
corporate politics. Okay, just couldn't handle corporate politics, and I refused to play the game. I could see it, but I refused to partake. And because I refused to partake, I was sidelined.
Yeah.
And so I left the corporate space, and so happiness at work. So I've been doing happiness at work with individuals. And it's time to break up with stress work, that type of thinking, and that worked in a corporate space for wellness. Now I'm
Mhm.
shifting away to midlife coaching and the online space, the marketing, the yeah, okay, I know what you're saying. Never mind, I'm answering my own question. Thank you.
Well,
Right.
it's a, you know, you take a happiness at work. Happiness at work. You know, there's a that's unique. You know, how to be happy at work. You know, if you hate your job, what's the best mechanism if you hate your job? You know, actually love your job. You know, you can't go through. You're making so much energy in terms of how you hate your job. Actually, if you actually started, you know, enjoying your job, you know, as much as you know that's a mechanism to cope with kind of an unhappy situation. You know,
And
that's
the
Can I
mechanism,
make a suggestion,
well,
yes.
Michael?
yeah.
Just that what was successful in the way you worked with the people in the corporate thing when you were doing the wellness work in the corporate scene, like there must have been things that you did that you brought to it that was your special way of helping them.
Yes.
Identifying that is your uniqueness.
Yeah.
The tool that I used was laughter coaching.
Laughter coaching then. That's your,
Yes. Yes. So I use laughter coaching
In the
with
middle of a
breathwork.
corporate world, that's pretty unique.
Yes. And with breathwork. It was laughter coaching. Got nothing to do with comedy, people. Laughter coaching with breathwork to
Yeah,
help them and break up with stress. So if you break up with stress, then only you can become happy. So that was the whole underlying message in
Yeah.
in layman's term. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Okay, I'm
Can I-
getting you.
can I-
My mindset is going. Okay, I'm getting the thinking. Okay, I see where this is. Thank you, Juliet. I
No
see what you're
worries.
saying. Yeah,
Yeah.
brilliant. Thank you.
Mm. Nice coaching approach. I just wanted to say thank you. It was very, I mean, insightful presentation. Simple because it identified the steps that we would normally focus on, or should focus on. What really stood up for me is the focus on transformation and not on your story. Even this discussion was really about how do I use my story, and it is what transformation are we bringing to the client at any point of time. So using our story, but really thinking about them. And I like that because I get caught. I mean, once we have got emotional connection to our story, so it's easy to stay there. So coming out and looking at them, and everybody will be a little bit different. So yeah, like that very much. Just wanted to say thank you.
no, it's nothing about you. It's all about them. You know, if you're telling your story, it's really, it's for them to self-identify with your story. It's not about you in terms of being self-indulgent, that you're telling about you, which I think a lot of content can be like that. I've seen kind of a lot of self-indulgent, self-congratulatory about,
It's only about
I'm so
words.
great, but I'm not moved by that content. I'm not moved by, I've made 10,000 in 90 days type of content. I'm not, that's not. That might demonstrate you can get a result for people and kind of, but financial rewards are important. I'm not saying they aren't, but it's more important about the money will come from the results you get for your clients. And if you can demonstrate that through a story about the results you're getting from your clients and the outcome they're getting and how their life is so much better from that, then you'll get clients from that.
Yeah, that's right. And I just finished the presentation, and it's exactly what I did. Is not the right way, the wrong way, is because I identified the problem, and then identified the solution. Didn't bring them home to them. So it's just using the right words. It's not about changing the story. It's just changing the language.
That's right. Right. Okay, this is good. I enjoy it. This is good. Anything else, Matthias? Anything from you? No? Good. All right. Okay. All right. So, yes, go ahead.
No, I said no question.
Other question.
I listened to the others, so we're good. Thanks.
No worries. So, I'll go. I was going to do a pitch, but I'm not going to. Next, just for your heads up, I'm having a workshop in 2 weeks' time is how to double your coaching prices without losing a single client. So I'll be promoting this next couple of days, sort of how to, it's all about offer creation. Now, we talked about stories in terms of kind of the power of stories, but you want to have something at the end to kind of, get an irresistible offer that, people want to say yes to. So this is how to craft an offer that is so good, people will say yes, kind of, and not this mindset people believe in terms of, if I charge more, I'm going to lose clients, which is rubbish. You're charging more, you're getting better clients, believe it or not. So I'm going to go into how you can double your coaching prices. So wherever you're at the minute, you can effectively double it without losing a single client. So I'll be promoting that in the next day. So look out for that. link in the workshop. We're going about 2 hours on probably Saturday 14th, I think it's going to be. But I'll be promoting it in my group if anybody wants to know more about that. So
I think you should still do the pitch.
should I do still do the pitch? Anybody want
Yes,
to
do
do it?
it.
Okay. I was enjoying the conversation, so I didn't want to word the dynamic, but anyway. So basically, you know, I can take all these stories and kind of all that, and we can put it into a program in terms of I do 12 weeks, 60 minutes a week, lifetime access. Juliet knows so a part of that. So I've got various tools that I use because I like to work on your business and your business. So I use a lot of software tools to kind of help people manage, the content planning, the messenger conversations, and the kind of the offer and booking calls. So I have a lot of tools that should go in. So we do like alignment workshops, content planner, events planner, leads magnets, appointment funnels, evergreen assets. So you may be seeing the same thing over and over again. So we develop a short video that you can just deploy. Hey, I've got this here about my services. Please watch this video. Make sure the call, when you're getting people on appointments, they're actually pre-framed on the call. So that's what evergreen assets are. Have a dedicated community portal. It's not a Facebook group. I actually have interacting people in that and accountability partner. So that's basically 12 weeks, 60 minutes with me. It's basically that kind of money, $14.90 AUD or $149 per week for 2 people. So anybody on this call wants to work with me over 12 weeks, and we talk content strategy, story strategies, messenger strategy to kind of book calls and make high ticket sales. But more importantly is the bonuses you get with it. Now, I use this tool every day. It generates me leads every single day. So it's kind of a tool whereby I set up in Messenger. It sits on top of Messenger. I set sort of standard messages that go out that engage with people, and then I starts conversations with people, and then I move them along customer journey to booking calls. So I use this tool. I would be lost without it. So this is kind of, you get free access to this. Free bonus 2 is, if anybody's familiar with Bitly in terms of, this is a kind of a link. You'll be branding links, in terms of your services. You don't want to, like Zoom links are all letters and numbers. So this actually brands them to your specific, services, kind of whatever you call, talked about that unique mechanism before, kind of maybe you've got a name for your services. So you can brand them with this link, and you can do all sorts of fancy things. You can, all your social media links you can keep on a landing page. You don't need just have, when people come to your profile, and most people have all these links, it gets very untidy. This link will take care of all that. You can have all branded links all in one place. Plus, this tracks all of the clicks and everything. So it's an amazing tool. So I'm throwing that in as well. Also, CRM, basically a one-on-one CRM. You can have all these conversations you're starting, all of these lead magnets, all of this thing. So I've got a CRM that manages my whole business. You get access to kind of that CRM, whereby you get all of the workflows. If you're running events, you've got all the reminders going out, everything to make sure you're getting people, maximum number of people on your events. So that's throwing in as well. As I said, I talked about dedicated community. I use a dedicated community it's called Heartbeat. It's not the Facebook group, because I find Facebook groups sometimes are limited. So these are sort of a dedicated group whereby there's interaction. You can post things, you can chat with all the members, you can get real-time feedback. So this is, I have a dedicated portal that I use. And last but not least is me. I'm the bonus is kind of working with me. I hold you accountable. Again, I don't do cookie cutter. Juliet will know that. So I meet people where they're at. I work with them because my success is your success. I'm a vested interest in this. So I take it very seriously. So bonus is me. So that is, my high ticket group coaching. Obviously, I have a one-on-one, which Juliet is part of. So it depends kind of where you are. More than happy to have a call that, or if you want to take down that link, you can also, move forward if you want. So that is my short and sweet pitch, if you want to that. So if anybody wants, DM me. More than happy to have a discussion. But I'll be doing this, I say, 2 weeks' time, and how to double your coaching prices without losing a single client. So you should be charging 4 figures. Everybody in this call should be charging 4 figures. There's no reason why you should not be charging at least $3,000 for what you do. Because everybody, you invest the time, money, you are providing value, you're providing people to move from a pain to pleasure. You're moving people from, low self-esteem. If Nikki's got people who are in desperately need of building up their self-esteem because they're actually crippled, how much would you pay to get out of that pain? I'd pay $3,000 to get out of that pain. Because what's the impact that have for their life? Can't have a relationship, can't move on, can't, job is suffering, probably income is suffering, relationships are definitely suffering. How much value do you put on that? So that's why I come back to a unique mechanism, by the way. If you can put a unique mechanism around that and demonstrate that through some kind of impactful story, impactful content, you'll get people to move. So, okay. All right, people.
I don't know if
value
you
from
got
this?
my cheat sheet request because
Yes.
I was
You
late
want
on
some,
the
Julie?
Zoom. Yeah.
Juliet, I'll send that to you. I've got 4 requests at the minute.
Yeah.
I will send that through because it's just a prompt of questions you need to ask yourself, and it can generate stories in your mind.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Hopefully everybody enjoyed that. And I'll see you about and hopefully get on the next workshop. I'll talk to you, Juliet, anyway, sooner before that. All right. Thank you, and have a great day, everyone, wherever you are in the world. Okay. See ya.